Hey there! I am going to go over a few of the basics for centering clay and doing your first couple of pulls. So some of the hand positions and the way that we kind of work through some of these things. So to start out, I have 3 pounds of clay here. And to start off, just kind of make sure you have it in the center. Makes things easier for centering. And then it's not a bad idea, now I don't do this every single time, but just take a kind of a dryish finger here and just go along the outside of it, welds the clay to the bat, make sure that water cannot get underneath it, and that's when your clay starts sliding off. Now don't use clay that's too stiff, otherwise it makes things too hard. If it's too soft, that makes it too hard as well. Usually when it comes out of the bag it's pretty good, but if it's been sitting around for a while, throw some water in it before you use it, like a week beforehand. All right, now I don't like to have the wheel going too fast, basically just fast enough. I feel like if the wheel starts going really fast like this, the clay starts pushing me around too much. So just something kind of in the middle of the road. Use your instincts. If it feels like it's too fast, it probably is. Just go off your comfort level. Remember that the slower the wheel's going, the slower that you have to go as well. So throw some water on there. Now, one thing I don't do is I don't start out back here. I'm up here pretty close. I'm able to keep my elbows in. I can rest my arms on my leg if I have to. If I need to, I can rest it here. My elbows aren't up here. What I'm trying to say is that I'm connected and stable. I'm supporting myself. I don't want to make this any harder than it has to be by just using my arms. I want to be able to use my body with this a little bit. And when I center, I like to cone the clay up and down. So the first thing is I'm going to center. I'm going to be pushing with my left hand. I'm going to be pulling with my right. So I'm just going and squishing the clay in between my fingers and slowly moving my hand in an upward motion. Now, some people like to cone it really high. I never really do. I just kind of get into that shape a little bit. Throw some more water on it if it starts to dry out. And whenever you start and stop your pressure movements on here, do it with slow starts and slow releases. So we're not starting fast and stopping fast, right? You'll start to get things really off center. I come in gradually with the pressure, and I'm gonna use this part of my hand, right? I'm gonna cone down. So I'm just gonna kind of come over to the top with the palm of my hand right here, pushing down at a 45. My right hand stays right where it is here, and I'm pushing down and forward. I'm not just pushing down. If I do that, it just wants to flail out here, and it's not really getting centered. And if I just push forward, obviously it's not gonna go down. So I'm gonna go back up. I'm pushing with my left hand, pulling with my right. I usually don't go up much farther than that, just kind of small movements. And then we're gonna go back down. So you can see my left hand never makes that much of a large adjustment, right? Small adjustments. Sometimes my elbow moves a little bit, right? Coning up, my elbow is down, supported on my leg as I push it up. As I come down, I kind of move it more into my shoulder and chest, and I push down and forward. Just those small movements. And then also I push here, right? Not back here. If I push here, I have the whole strength of my arm. And if I'm supported with my elbows in, I can literally lean forward into the clay. I want to make this as easy as possible. And then also, if I'm using my whole body, I'm much more stable. Anytime this starts to dry out, just slowly stop, put some more water on there. If you don't like all the slip, just scrape it off, and we're ready to go. Now, when it's truly centered, it can be a little bit difficult to tell. It's more of a feeling than anything, but what we're shooting for is to have all of the clay from the inside and outside fully centered. One thing you can do to see if it's centered is just to hold your hand nice and still here, and is it tapping? Tap, 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 tap. Well, that means that it's not centered, right? One end sticks out farther than the other. Once you get more in tune with the clay, you'll just start to feel that it's spinning true. And if it's just a little bit off, I don't usually worry about it too much, but that's the style of pottery that I make. Mine aren't extremely tight, and so I don't mind if it's off a little bit. Now, centering, that's the fastest wheel speed that I'll use. From here on out, my wheel speed gets slower and slower. All right, now we're gonna open up the clay to be able to pull our cylinder, right? So I had my left hand here for centering. I basically just move it back until my thumb sits in the middle. On my right hand, I put my middle finger next to my thumb and my pointer finger on top. And I'm gonna push down in the middle, and it slowly digs it down. It dries out a little bit, slowly stop, slow starts, slow stops, and we're gonna push more and more down until we've created a bottom about a 1/4 inch thick or so, maybe 3/8. And you can check that with your needle tool. Now I'm gonna pull this towards me. I'm gonna make a cylinder, right? So I want a flat bottom on this piece. So with my fingers in the same position, I'm gonna bring them kind of down and towards me, right? So now I'm gonna be using the tips of the fingers a little bit more. And the whole time, my left hand here just kind of sits around the outside of the clay. That's where I like to have that. Maybe my right hand is tucked in. I don't really think about it too much. Now I just kind of took some of that slip from when I was throwing. I smeared on the inside. You can use your fingers to compress this, some way compress the bottom, right? Get a little water in here. And if I'm using my fingers, I'm gonna be working at 3 o'clock for me, right? I'm just moving from to the middle and then out. Now, how hard are you pushing? You're pushing to feel a little resistance. So we're trying to compress those clay particles down so they don't crack in the firing. Nice and even. Now I don't want to be pushing so hard that I'm making a groove in here, right? We're not trying to move the clay, we're just trying to compress it. Okay, now we're ready to throw, to make the wall, to start throwing the pot kind of basically. Now to start, whenever I start out my pots, they end up pretty wide, they're starting to look kind of plate-ish. If I put my hands with the heels of the hands together, and I put them around it, and I push and squeeze my hands in, right? So I'm pushing forward and squeezing. You already start to build the wall a little bit, and that also creates a nice corner in here. If you end up with a bowl shape there, all that clay for a cylinder is wasted clay that's just making your pot heavy, right? So I'm getting that nice tight corner. And if you need to add some water here, by keeping my heels of my hands in front of me. Once they start going out here, it doesn't work as well. I keep them in front of me and I squeeze my hands in and push forward just a little bit. And I can use that anytime to collar in the clay if it starts to get too wide on me. Come in here with my left hand, forefinger inside, thumb outside. I've kind of put my fingers right on top. These hands support the wall, and I just push down a little bit. So now I have a nice, sturdy, controlled rim. If we control the rim of the pot, we'll have more control over the entire piece. So now pulling, there's so many different ways to do your pulling, and there's some great videos out there showing, you know, the step. You'll have a step in between your fingers because this one's starting on top of the bottom here of your clay. This one's starting at the wheel head, so they're different here. This one pushes out, this one pushes in, right? So I'm stretching the clay out and pushing it in and moving my hands up at the same time without squeezing it so hard that you rip the pot apart, right? So a bunch of stuff going on. Basically, what I like to tell people in the very beginning, just to not overthink it so much, you're pushing your fingers towards each other and moving them up. And it'll take a feel for how hard you push them together, but the goal is for them not to touch. You'll feel a grip of the clay a little bit. You kind of hold that tension there and move your fingers up. All right. I like to have my hands connected somehow. So thumbs resting on each other, just some way, if possible, that they can be touching. It adds more stability. Once again, my elbows or my forearms are supported. I'm not throwing my wall like this. I'm in here and I have a hard time, but try to watch your posture. If you hump over too much, you'll get sore. So try to watch your shoulders, your back. And we're gonna push our fingers towards each other and move them up, right? Now when I throw, I do all sorts of things. I'll put my thumb involved in here, and you know, I can really dig in here. And I kind of got my pinky working over here. It's collaring in the whole time that I'm throwing. My thumb adds a little bit of extra support into there. Right, so you'll start to develop your own style for pulling walls. Once you get towards the top of your pull, you just slowly release, all right? Not a fast one, but slowly. And I don't ever pull all the way through it. I like to keep a little bit of extra support up here. And you can support it with your fingers, push down, compress that rim. Add some water when you need to. Right, gonna come back in. And you can put more fingers in it if you need to, if you have more clay going on there. At some point, you may start using your finger kind of in this position so I can get my knuckle. It's a little bit stronger than just my pointer fingers, right? So there's all sorts of ways to do this. That's comfortable for me. It's much stronger for me than just trying to push with my fingertips. All right, so we're throwing, we pull it up, and now this is a little bit too wide. If you let this get out of control, you're never gonna get it back, right? We can always make it wider. That's really easy. It's harder to control this. So I just come in here with the heels of my hands in front of me and push and squeeze. And I can do that after every pull if I need to, just to make sure that I keep control of this. And I'll even do it oftentimes knowing that my hand may stretch it out a little bit. But what I just don't like this to end up out here when I'm finished and I wanted to make something straight. Throw some more water into there. The higher this gets, the thinner the clay is, it's easier to move it. We've been pushing water into it, it's getting softer. That means I'm gonna slow the wheel down a little bit. I may not have to push so hard. Right now, you know, I'm just kind of using that first joint right there on my finger, and I can use that instead of my fingers like this. They'll get a little sore after pushing on them like that. So I just do that, and I kind of pull up that way. Like I said, these are just the basics. There's so many different ways to do all of this. Everybody will start to develop their own style. That's not the way that I do it. I get some other things going on involved with my thumb and my pinky kind of collaring while I do it and compressing the rim, but generally we're pushing on the clay and moving our hands upward. And you'll learn what works best for you and what doesn't work for you. And let's say I'm making a pull here and it starts to dry out right there. You just slowly stop, come back in, put some water on there. If I like to use my sponge, I'll put that on there, and I can pick it up again where I stopped, right? And go through your whole motion. I tend to pull pretty slow. That's just the way that I go. You can see my wheels going pretty slow. If you need this to come back in, just collar that back in, compress the rim. And from here, you have your cylinder. You can do a variety of things. You know, if you push out, it's gonna come out. You can keep collaring this in, right? You can just keep pushing on it, and you make it come in. So however you want to manipulate the clay from there is up to you. But those are some of the basics, really basic things that you'll need to start making a cylinder, right? I hope this helps a little bit. And if none of these work for you, then you'll find your own way. You know, there is no right way, there's no wrong way. You just find your way. So, thank you.